You want to know what happens when someone tries to steal the one sacred thing a mother promises her unborn child? I'll tell you, because I watched it all unravel right from the heart of Manhattan, where fortunes are built on secrets and the smallest betrayal can burn an empire to the ground. I used to believe the worst thing that could happen to a woman like Elenina Vance was her husband's affair. Turns out, it was something much colder. It was the theft of a Namia legacy, a destiny meant for her son and nobody else. Let me back up a sec. Elenina had everything people kill themselves trying to get. The penthouse, the Hampton summer house, the invitations with gold leaf. Married to Julian Croft, a man who clawed his way from Queens to the top of the private equity world. Handsome, charming, eyes that could cut glass, and a smile that said he never lost. By 34, Elenina was 8 months pregnant and still moving with the kind of grace that made people lean in when she entered a room. They'd already picked the name, Thomas Maxwell Vance. Thomas for her grandfather, the quiet, stoic patriarch. Maxwell for Julian's dad, the bricklayer who sacrificed everything. That name was a Bridgia promise, a merging of old money and ambition, something meant to last for generations. She'd whisper it at night in the nursery, her hand on her belly, picturing the life she'd built staying perfect forever. But you know what they say about perfect? It's always one hairline crack away from collapse. It started with Julian's late nights, the distant kisses, the expensive gifts that felt more like hush money than love bracelets, bags, flowers with apology notes he never wrote out loud. Then came the whispers behind the study dorm on the phone, hissing at someone to just be patient. I'll handle everything. She didn't know the name yet, but Chloe Sterling was already a storm on the horizon. 26, razor-sharp, ambitious as hell, and willing to break anything that stood in her way, including a family. She'd watched Elenina's life from a distance, studying every Instagram post, every magazine feature, waiting for her shot at the crown. Their affair wasn't a one-night slip. It was 6 months of stolen nights in Tribeca, bills hidden on secret credit cards, perfume that didn't belong to anyone in that house. Elenina, with her Ivy League education and sharp intuition, started piecing it together: a burner phone, the credit card statement mailed by mistake, the recurring charge for a luxury apartment she'd never heard of. One night, she followed him. Yes, she really did that, swollen belly and all, down to that anonymous tower in Tribeca, and watched her husband disappear into it, arm in arm with a woman who looked hungry for a life she hadn't earned. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just filed the pain away cold, clinical, like you do when you know you're about to lose something you thought would never leave you. The next morning, she confronted Julian with the receipts, literally. There was no yelling, no shattered vases, just the terrifying stillness of a woman who refuses to let herself be humiliated. Julian confessed, begged, promised to end it, said he'd fire Chloe, cut her out, burn it all to keep the life they'd built. For their son's sake, Elenina let him try, but she drew the line hard. No more secrets, total transparency, therapy, the works. And for a while, it seemed like it might stick. But you see, firing Chloe didn't end the story. It just gave her a reason to escalate. Chloe outmaneuvered, angry, and smarter than anyone gave her credit for, decided if she couldn't have Julian, she'd at least have something to keep her tethered to the Croft legacy. She called Julian, claimed she was pregnant. It was Aaliyah's setup, so convincing it fooled even him. She faked a sonogram, dropped hints about morning sickness, and started planning something far more vicious. Through a shady adoption, she got a baby boy timed perfectly to be born just before Elenina's due date. And here's the killer twist. She named that child Thomas Maxwell Sterling. Yeah, the same name Elenina had chosen for her own son. When Julian found out, he was horrified. He tried to make her change it, but Chloe just smiled and told him, "It's just a name, Julian. There are plenty of names in the world." But it wasn't just a name. It was a legacy stolen right out from under them. When Elenina finally delivered her son, all she felt was love, even as Julian hovered by her side like a man with a ticking bomb in his pocket. It wasn't until the hospital registrar tried to file their child's birth certificate that the trap was sprung. System flagged the name as a duplicate, linked to Julian's details. Time froze. Elenina's smile died on her lips. In that stark, silent hospital room, Julian's world and hers collided in the worst way. She made him tell it all: the affair, the secret baby, the money, the ultimate betrayal. When he finished, she told him to get out. "Send my lawyer a text," she said, her voice like cold steel. "We're getting a divorce." And then, alone with her child, Elenina felt the weight of his name, Thomas Maxwell, now poisoned, sullied. But instead of breaking, she hardened. Revenge? No. This was about justice, about reclaiming the one thing nobody should ever be able to steal from a mother and her child: their story. So she planned. She called her best friend, a top publicist, and set the stage. A week later, live on national to Julian's big moment, his coronation as a business genius, Elenina, in sapphire blue and perfect poise, hijacked the broadcast. With millions watching, she told the truth about the affair, the stolen name, the fraud, and the calculated cruelty. She held up the birth certificate for the cameras, exposed Chloe's entire scheme, and calmly announced her divorce, leaving Julian destroyed on live TV, his reputation and company in ashes. The fallout was instant. Julian lost everything: his business, his status, even his place in the story. Chloe? The fraud was exposed, her name forever linked to scandal. She disappeared, hounded by media, her victory nothing but smoke. But Elenina didn't gloat. She sold the penthouse, bought a home in Brooklyn, and in a small ceremony under a maple tree, she gave her son a new name: Phoenix Arthur Vance. Phoenix, for the bird that rises stronger from the fire. Arthur, for a grandfather who embodied real integrity. "Your name is a promise," she whispered to him, "of resilience, truth, and a life that is magnificently your own." So, tell me, if you were in her shoes, would you walk away quietly? Or would you take your story back in front of the whole world? Let me know in the comments. And if you believe in justice and the power of truth, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that prove no lie stays buried forever.